Hi there, welcome to this practical data engineering episode on Databricks Data Platform. In this special episode, I'm going to show you how we can implement a solution that ingests sales data resident in local drive to the Databricks DBFS Filestore. We're going to create SQL Warehouse resource and launch the SQL editor. Afterwards, we're going to read all the CSV files uploaded to the file store and write as a flat table into the Databricks SQL Warehouse. To visualize our data and get insight, we will create Databricks dashboard and then automate the process for continuous data integration. So let's get started. Before we go into the demonstration aspect, let's understand what is DBFS Filestore and SQL Warehouse. Databricks File System Filestore is a storage location which is within the Databricks ecosystem, and it is optimized for storing files such as libraries, datasets, and other assets that can be accessed and managed across the entire Databricks workspace. Files stored in the file store can be accessed via various interfaces such as Databricks notebooks, REST APIs, or directly using the DBFS command, which I'm going to show you in this video. SQL Warehouse in Databricks is a robust data warehousing solution designed to support analytics and business intelligence workloads efficiently. It allows users to run SQL queries on large data sets, which make it ideal for data analytics, exploration, and creating stunning visualizations. It supports the separation of compute and storage, enabling independent scaling of resources for cost efficiency and flexibility. SQL Warehouse integrates easily with Databricks SQL, allowing efficient data querying and management. It also works with popular BI tools like Tableau, Power BI, and Looker, which makes it suitable for creating interactive dashboards and reports. So having said all of this, let's go into the demonstration aspects. This is Databricks on Microsoft Azure. Now, the first thing we want to do is to create an SQL warehouse. To do that, I'm going to click on SQL Warehouses and then click on Create SQL Warehouse. And it's going to launch this window. Now, we can provide the name, the cluster size, the auto stop, scaling, and type. So for the name, I'm going to call this one sales underscore SQL underscore WH for warehouse. And then for the cluster size, depending on how voluminous your data set is, you can choose the size. So for this, I'm just going to choose the medium, which is enough. And then for the auto stop, this is going to automatically stop after 10 minutes of inactivity. You can use maybe 20, 30 minutes, whatever you like, but I'm going to stick with the default 10 minutes. So for the scaling, I'm going to maintain this minimum and maximum cluster, which is fine, and then the type is going to be serverless. So I'm going to click on create the SQL warehouse. And then we have this manage permissions. So this is for data governance. I'm not going to talk about that today. So I'm going to close this tab, and then we have the status as running. We can see the name, we can see the tag, we can see the cluster size, and so on and so forth. That is cool. Now we want to go ahead and enable the DBFS browser in order to be able to load our sample data sets. Now, before we enable that, I'm going to come to my browser, and I've got all these cells 2015 to sales 2025 that we're going to be working with. Let me just show you the content of the data. So you can see for the sales 2015.csv, I've got this order date, region, subcategory, product, and the sales, and then we have this data set. So let's go back here, and then I'm going to enable the DBFS browser. To do that, just click on this, your name, and then go to the settings. In the settings, go to the advanced, and then scroll down a little bit and look out for the DBFS browser. So you can see here, automatically this is always off. So just turn it on. As soon as you turn it on, then you need to come here and refresh your browser. And then once you refresh, you can go to the catalog, and then we're going to see the browse DBFS here. So click on that, and then we have this file store, which I'm talking about. So within this file store, I've created a path called sales, and I'm going to ingest all my data within this path. So click on that, and then I can click on upload. So I'm going to just browse, or let me just select this and select the cells, and then click on confirm. So we can see this is going to be the extension, the path, and then I'm going to click on upload files. So I'm going to select all these files. Let's start with the sales 2015 to 2020, and then I'm going to click upload. So I can see all the data. You just click on done, and all the data is now ingested into the sales path of the file store, which is cool. Now we want to go ahead and launch our SQL editor and create our table. So I'm going to use this tab, and I can go to the SQL editor, and I'm going to create a brand new SQL query editor. So click on that. Okay, so this is now launched. Now we want to create our table that is going to hold the data before we use the copy into command. So I'm going to just do create table, and I'm going to call this one transaction underscore data, and I can provide the columns and the data type. Now we need the order date. That's the first one in the source data, and then we're going to use the date data type, put in a comma, and then we need the region with the string data type. We need the subcategory column, and this is also going to be a string. We need the product, I believe, and this is going to be a string, and then we need the sales, which is going to be an integer. Now I'm going to quickly check it out to confirm. So we have the order date, region, subcategory, product, and sales, and that corresponds to what I've got in it. So I can just go ahead and get rid of these, and I can select this create table and then run the code. Now the data is going to be stored in this cornerstone catalog and this in this default schema. So I can run it. Before it creates, it is really important we attach the table to an existing compute. I'm going to be attaching that to the sales SQL Warehouse we just created, and you can see the summary. So I'm going to click on attach and run. Okay, so the table is now created. Now I'm going to just put in a semicolon here, and then we can query the table. So I'm going to write select star from transaction underscore data, and it's going to be select. So I can select the code and click on run selected. Okay, so this is the structure of the table. We have the order date, region, subcategory, product, and the sales. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the copy into command to copy the data into our table, which is in the SQL Warehouse. So for that, I'm going to just put in semicolon and use the copy into. And then we're going to copy into this transaction underscore table we just created. And then we're going to use the from, and this is going to be coming from inside the single quote. I'm going to copy the path of the sales in the file store. So I can come to this tab, and then I can right click on this very sales, copy the path, and then I'm going to say the Spark API format and the file API format. I'm going to use this Spark API format, copy that to the clipboard, come back here inside the single quote. I'm going to paste, and then we can provide the file format. So I'm going to say file format. Now the format is CSV. Now the CSV must not be inside the single quote or double quote. Just write it like this. That's the convention. And I'm going to provide the format options. So I'm going to say format underscore options. This is going to be in a bracket. Now we're going to get all the columns of our data set, and then we're going to also infer the schema. So I can type a single quote, and I'm going to type in the header, and then I'm going to set this one equals to true inside the single quote, and then I'm going to put in a comma, and then we're going to infer the schema. So in a single quote also infer schema, and this is going to equals to in a single quote true. So because we want to actually get all the schemas and the headers of our data, because our data contain header. So this is just the piece of code that we need to construct. Now I can go ahead and run this code. Okay, so we can see number of affected rows is 120 and number of inserted rows is 120. So we can see number of skip corrupt file is none. So this is working. Now I can come back here and execute this again to see the data set in the table. All right, so we have the data. Now let's just perform sales by year. So I'm just going to create a column here. So I'm going to type in the year function, and then I want to access the year from the date, and I'm going to call this one year, and I can put in a comma, and then I'm just going to perform a simple sum on top of the sales column, and I'm going to call this one total sales, and then I can just go ahead and use the group by clause. So I'm going to say group by the year column. So year, open the bracket, and then I'm going to type in the order date, and I can put in a semicolon to terminate the statement. And let's run this. Okay, so we can see we have all of this. Now let's quickly order by so that we can see from the oldest to the newest. I'm going to use the order by. So order by, we're ordering by the year column, and then I'm going to open the brackets, the order date column. So the year function and then the order date column. So I'm going to select this query, and then let's run it. So we're going to have the total sales for the year 2015 to year 2020 because we uploaded the data for the sales 2015 to 2020, which is absolutely cool. Now, so I can add more columns to this group by so that we can have enough of this column in order to build our visualization. So I'm just going to come in and just add the region, and I'm going to put in a comma. I want to add the product column, put in a comma, and then in the group by, I'm going to also provide the region, put in a comma, and then the product, and then I can run this code again. So this is going to give us the total sales by region, product, and the year, which is absolutely cool. Now, when you check here, you can see we have the 2015 to 2020. That's cool. Now, I'm going to copy this code, and then we want to go ahead and create our AI BI dashboard. So I'm going to click on dashboards, and then I want to create a new dashboard. Now, in order to build our dashboard, it is important we connect to our data, and then we can come to the canvas and start using the widgets and the visualizations. So to get the data into the canvas ready for visualization, I'm going to click on this data tab, and then we have this data set we can create from SQL, and then we can select from a table. Now, since we've got a table which is already created on top of our SQL warehouse, I can click on select table, and then the table is actually resident in this default schema of the Cornerstone Analytics catalog. So I can see the functionality which allows me to expand, and then I've got this sales data that we created. Click on that and then click on confirm. This is going to automatically generate the code for us, and then it's going to automatically execute. So we can see all the original columns. Now, we can choose not to use all these columns as I've mentioned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paste what I copied, and I'm going to get rid of this, select star, and then I'm going to copy this fully qualified name, cut it actually, and I'm going to come to this from table, paste in it, and I can select all of this code and run. So this is going to give us the same total sales by product, region, and year, which is cool. Now we can see that we have the transaction data table, and then we can go to our canvas to begin to build our visualization. So click on this canvas, and then we can give this a meaningful name. Just double click and call this one sales, which is cool. Press enter to commit. Now there's a functionality that allows us to build a multi-page dashboard in that Databricks. So we can create multiple page, which is absolutely easy, but we just want to create one, which is cool for this demonstration. So this is sales. Now we can click on this add a visual, and then this is going to actually show this widget. I can just place it there, and then we have the functionality to use the AI assistant embedded in the AI BI dashboard. So let's say we want to say total sales by region. So I'm going to say total sales by region, render using pie chart. So using pie chart, and I'm going to press enter, and it's going to start generating the chart for me. There we go. Cool. So this is actually working fine. So I can accept the result, I can reject, I can even fine tune the question, but this is exactly what I'm looking for, and I can see the legend at the bottom. So I'm going to click on accept, and this is cool. Now I'm just going to make it to be smaller, and then I can move it to this size. Now there's a functionality which allows us to clone a widget. So I can click on this kebab, and then we have this clone, and it's going to automatically create another copy for us. And then I can move this here, and I can modify this. So let's say we want to use this for total sales by product. So I can see the widget information here. So we have the sum, which is summing the total sales column in our calculation, and then we have for the coloring, we have the region. So I can click on this to cancel what's already there, and I can select another column. So this time around we want to say the products, and there we go. So we can say total sales by product, and then we have all of these details, including the tooltips, which is not too bad. And then we want to create a card. So I can just click on this, and then I'm just going to move this widget here, and I need to resize that to make it smaller. And then I can move this up here. Okay, so I just want to say total sales as a single scalar value. So total sales, and press enter. Okay, so this gave me, so I'm going to accept these changes, and then I can also resize as much as I like. And then we can also create table. So I'm going to move this here, and let me just move this here a little bit, and I can resize this. Let me just resize it further, and I'm going to resize this, and I'm going to move this up here. Okay, so for this table, now I can come to this environment and do the whole thing. So I'm going to select the visualization, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I should be able to see table. I can even set for table anyway. That's fine. It's so easy. So once I set for that, and then I can provide the columns. Now I want to see the year. Now you can see all of these are turned off. So I can click on this toggle visibility. When I toggle it on, there we go. It is now available. And then we want to also see this by sales, total sales. So toggle it on, and there we go. So let me just expand this, and there we go. And let me just move this so that we can see what's going on. So we have the total sales by year and so on and so forth. Now when I click on this, there's an extra functionality which I love so much. Now I'm going to expand this, and then we have the functionality to use this column as a search. So when I toggle the search one, I can see the search by year, which is what I love so much. It's so cool. So I can expand all of these as much as I like. Okay, that's cool. Now we also want to see, so we want to see the total sales by product as far as distribution is concerned. So I'm going to just click on this and add the last widget here, and I can expand this. And now I'm going to build this from here. So we're going to use the area visualization for that. For the x-axis, I'm going to click on this, and let's use the total sales. For the y-axis, let's use product. And then for the color, I'm going to use products. Okay, so this looks a little bit too busy, but let's just leave it because of time. So we have all this visualization, which is absolutely cool. Now we can go on and save this or publish. So there's a button to publish now. So click on this, and then we have all of these details. Just click on publish. And then we have that published. Again, I'm not going to talk about the governance in here. So just close this, and then our dashboard is now published. Now I can come back to the dashboards, and then we can see the new dashboard we created. Now I think we need to give this a meaningful name. So I can go back to drafts, and then I'm going to call this one transaction dashboard. Just give whatever name you like, and then click enter. Okay, that's now created. Now let's go ahead and automate our data. Now don't forget, we've got data for the sales 2015 to 2020 in it. So I'm going to come to the SQL editor. Now in the SQL editor, we're going to schedule this job. Now before I schedule, I want to get rid of all of these. So I don't need this create table statement. So that should be deleted. And I don't need this aggregation also delete. So basically I just need to automate this create or copy into and all of these details. So make sure this is what I need to have in it. Nothing else. I can put in a semicolon to terminate the statement. Now, in order to schedule, it is important we save this job, and then the schedule will now be activated. So click on this save, and then we can see query saved, and then the schedule is now up and running. So I can click on that, and then we can see the job name. So let me just call this one sales data job. You can use whatever name you like, and then for the schedule, we can choose every day. We can choose hourly, minute by minute, week, and so on and so forth. And I'm just going to choose every 1 minute, and then I'm going to stick with this time zone. And this is of course attached to our sales SQL Warehouse we created. So I'm going to click on create. Now, as soon as I click on create, this is now in a position to be executed. So we're going to be seeing what is going on later on. Now, as this is going on, I also want to come to the transaction dashboard and also schedule that. Now, to schedule the dashboard, I'm going to turn it to the publish, not to the draft, because we cannot do that from the draft. It must be in the publish mode. So this is now published, and then we can see the schedule. So click on the schedule, and then I'm going to schedule this also for every minute, and I'm going to stick with all these default settings. Click on create. So this is now scheduled also. Cool. Now I'm going to come here. So I'm just going to wait, and there we go. You can see this is 1 minute. And let's see, as soon as this runs successfully, it's going to tell us how many rows are inserted, how many rows affected, and if there's any errors. We're going to see all of that. So I'm just going to wait for a couple of moments, and there we go. You can see this succeeded, no errors. Now, when I click on this, I can investigate. I can see the query. I can see number of rows affected, and so on and so forth. This is 0. And then we can see the task run. We can see the job ID, the job run ID, task run ID, and so on and so forth. We can see the status. Now, this doesn't do anything because we don't have anything or any files uploaded now. So I'm going to come back. quickly to the catalog and I want to go to the browse DBFS, and then in here I'm going to upload the data for sales 2021 to 2023. I'm going to come back to the 2024 to 2025, click on open and then click on done. So we can see we have 3 additional CSV files uploaded to the file store. So I can go to the SQL editor and then I'm just going to wait for an extra minute and let's see what happened. So let me check this out. I'm not sure this is not going to be the one, so we have to wait for the second. This the one. Actually, it picked it up automatically, which is cool. So we can say this inserted 60 rows. We have 20 rows in each of the files, which is cool. So 60, 60, and I can go to the dashboard. So when I go to the dashboard, I can click on transaction ID and let's see what happened. So of course, this is expected to automatically update, but because of time, I'm just going to quickly manually trigger it. So when I click on this, let's see what happens to these numbers. Amazing. So you can see it changes. And then this is working absolutely cool. Now I can go to the catalog and then go to the browse DBFS for the last time. And I can upload the 2024 to 2025. Click on open, click on done. I can come to the SQL editor and then I can just come to the schedule just to check it out. Of course, we don't need to become here every now and then. Let's see whether this is captured. So let's see okay, this is not, it didn't capture the 2 files we uploaded. So I'm just going to go back to the queries and then, I'm sorry, the SQL editor. I can go back to this and I think the next one should be the flow or the schedule that's going to capture the 2 files we just uploaded. So I'm just going to wait for. Okay, so we can see the fourth one also succeeded the job run. Click on that, and then we should have all those data we just inserted. So we can see we have 50, which is cool. I can come back to the dashboard, and then, of course, I can click on this to just trigger the refresh, and then let's see what happens. So we have all of this data changing, which is absolutely cool. Now I'm going to come back here. Let me just show you one more thing. I can go to the run this number ID, and then we can see sales data job. So we can see we have all these workflows and then we can see the job and the pipelines. We can see the run, and then we have this chart which tells us of the run total duration, and then we have the refresh query. We have all of these job details, and then we have the start time, the run ID, launch, and so on and so forth. So this is how we can architect a solution to upload files to the DBFS file system and then write into SQL Warehouse table and build a dashboard on top of the data. I trust you enjoyed this video. If you do, like, comment, share, and follow me for more videos. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.